Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today, another deck profile from Clan Selection 2. Of course, we still have a lot of decks got covered and going to cover. So, of course, this is one of them. And I'll just review first is Nova Grapplers. So this is actually my friend's deck. He allows me to borrow it and have some fun, play with it, and so might as well just get a deck profile. So I actually did play test this. It's a bit beast deity build and it's quite interesting. Of course, when Epic Buster come out, we do have a lot of expectations, and then we see something that is possible, something that we thought is possible, and now becomes something that is a little bit hard to achieve, and then go for a lot of routes, and then here we are. So without further ado, let's go to the deck profile. For starter, not like the usual one that I say you can use anything. You actually do need to use this White Tiger, because there are cards that requires you to actually use this card as a condition in order to use the effects. So there you go. And then next, of course, we have FX Buster, but in this build, that's only free. I think the main reason is because yes, FX Buster have a strong point, but the key is still on other units. So free is still enough because you don't actually need to keep riding him so many times. And in case you don't know, riding on top of FX by FX like this, if the first attack hit and you need to of course pay the cost 2 times if you want to use it 2 times, and if the first one hits and rest, the second one won't attack because of the ruling. So double FX is not something that you want to see, and you want to ride something else, so you probably just go for first ride and swing and then go for something else. And with this deck, even without FX Buster, you won't be having a hard time, but if you do, I think things will go a lot easier for you, which you'll see when I do some combos and such, then you will see. But what basically this does is you discard 2 cards, stand a beast deity unit, and make it attack the Vanguard when you appears, or you ride on top of it on the Vanguard circle. If the attack didn't hit, you stand this unit. If it hits, -1 drive. So basically, what it does is to force your opponents to take a hit because you usually use the skill on your Vanguard circle. So basically what you want is you swing and then your opponents will say attack hits. But of course if they are on 4 damage or maybe they're on 5th, they can't, then you can stand it without losing a drive and attack again. That's most ideal. But when you first use this card in a game, in a match, most likely it's going to hit because your opponent's like wasting 2 cards and let you stand without minusing drive. I don't think they will gamble that. They rather let you take the hit and then you use whatever to stand this card. That's another story. And also, whenever your beast deity units attack, you can counterblast 1 and give that unit plus 5k for the turn. It's not only for the battle but for the turn, so even when you use FX to attack, you can still kind of gain some advantage. But at the same time, you can also make use of the 12k power against Force Clans to just attack and stand it, and then put the power somewhere else. That's something that's workable. But it depends on what you want to do. And then 2 Innominal Dragon is a very good unit on both Vanguard and Vanguard Circle. Allows you to stand some stuff on Vanguard Circle. Allows you to force your opponents to guard a little bit more, because whenever your other units attack hits, this unit will get 15k. So it's basically just a 27k attacker on XL2 can be 32, which is very nice. And the next, which probably will be your main guy, is still Studio Dragon. That's something that my friend, when he tested the build, he actually didn't use, but later he used that because we also found the combination with FX in Studio Dragon is more interesting, because a Studio Dragon can basically help you to create an attacker and attack immediately. So where when you don't have enough resources, you can, like, maybe you only have triggers in hand, you at least get to write this card, get an XL2 circle, and counterblast one and draw yourself another card, so you at least have 2 more chances to find your attacker, which in this deck is kind of lacking drawing power. You can build your board, but you don't have that much draw power. And with this, you need to discard 2 cards first. So you do need to have some kind of draw power to help maintain your board, and you need to have some good units to, like, be on the Vanguard circle and help you withstand some stuff. And since Epic Cluster is limiting to stand only Beast Deity, so even if you want to stand some good regards, but if they are not Beast Deity, you can't stand them. And in this deck, of course, you will be using some cards that are not Beast Deity. You can use them all, but in this build, that's not what we are going to do. And then entering grade 2s, we have the Typhoon Bird, very key to the deck, because this basically just gets you the extra unit, like what a Studio Dragon tried to do. But of course, without any attack, and that unit being called will be rested. But that's why we do have a lot of stuff that can basically withstand the stuff. But do note that he or she only calls a grade 2 non-grade 2 Beast Deity unit. So you can call herself, you can call another grade 2, which gives us a lot of space when trying to utilize the deck with grade 2s, because even if we are using grade 2 Beast Deity that is not Typhoon Bird, we can call them anyway, so we do have a lot of rooms to play around. And 2 of the Black Tortoise is for testing wise. I actually do like this card because he can simply just create an attack, and if not hit, can stand. But this card really needs to stand on an XL circle to become very useful, or when you're going first and you want some early rush, then that's probably something that can help you to do that. But outside of that, it's a little bit hard to make him very useful, because he is only 9k without an XL circle, and when your opponent is on a grade 3 and higher, usually you just can't hit anything. That's the bad point. But it's still some interesting attacker that you can keep consider using. Like with a Studio Dragon, you basically just place this, swing, and if your opponents want it to stop, then they can simply just take the hit. But then you can still counter blast one and soul blast one and make it attack again. But if they guard it and make you stand, then you save your resources and attack with it. So won't hurt you anyway, but just kind of a small punch that you need to place him very well. And if you hit him with a Typhoon Bird, like before you start creating XL markers, that's probably something that make you headache, but you still have a chance to do some little punches that matter, so I think it's still good to be here. Then Genocide Jack or Brutal Jack is still a very good card. Simply just gain great power, just 10k during your turn is massive, because with XL, if you can't push your own power, sometimes it's a little bit hard to push against even same as XL clan or Protect clans, because if they only requires a little bit guarding power, they can probably just take it, or it's easily stopped by defensive. So yeah, just this on XL2 circle can be 24k, so basically hit most of the stuff already. But then you can't stand him in the stand phase, and you need to rest 2 units to stand this card. So this requires you to use some kind of like mechanics to stand the stuff so that you can stand him, and then use those cards to stand the units that you rested. And there's 2 elephants, because it can pump itself and your Vanguard by 10k whenever you get to use your unit's power to stand units. Only once per turn, but still great. And something that you can do is to use your Brutal Jack to rest the Brutal Jack and something else and stand it, because it didn't say you can rest itself. And when you first call, this card is on stand mode, it's not rested, so very easy to get the 10k off. Only running 2, so during the actual testing time when I used the deck, I actually haven't meet the elephant yet, but maybe I'll see if I can get some good recordings later that can actually make use of this card. But when I fight against it, that 10k really matters. Yeah, because simply able to hit a lot of stuff just by 19k requires more than 5k card is already big to me. Okay, so enter great ones. 4 of the lift towers is a good card. Basically help you to search your base deity stuff, mainly this and this and this. Other stuff, no, not this one. Only the Great Freeze. My bad. So only Great Freeze. Look at top 5, find them. But there's something that I miss as well. Is only when your Vanguard attack it. So it doesn't have to hit himself, and you can just boost with it, attack with it first, and then make your Vanguard hit, and then try to search yourself some Great Freeze. Also, he got a Riga skill that when appears during the main phase, you can stand one of your Beast Deity unit. So, like if you attack hits with your FX cluster or the unit right on top of FX cluster to make it rested, you can still stand it with this card. But because this card only standing 1 card, so actually I don't get to use this skill too much, and because we have our Vermilion Bird. So Vermilion Bird is basically just standing your whole board. And if you have a white tiger and you stand more than 2 units with this skill, you get a draw 1. So very important draw power, and make sure you don't soul blast your white tiger at all times unless you are like going all out for a final turn. Else, make sure you keep the white tiger in so that you can get your extra draw. Yeah. And the main reason I don't stand too much with the towers is because I usually get the Vermilion Bird in hand, and I can basically stand 2 units. So yeah. And with this, the main issue is you need to stand a Beast Deity, so you can't stand this, you can't stand this. But other stuff, you can. That's fine. And then for the dragon, mainly because it's Beast Deity, personally when I like fight against the deck, even though it can somehow withstand himself, but it's still 8k on Exile Circle, still like 13k unless you really put some triggers on it. It's not that much of a threat, but being able to create a little bit extra attacking and activating elephant is still useful, but mainly is for the Beast Deity name so that you can search without missing too much, and you have most of the content is Beast Deity. But of course, since our triggers are not Beast Deity, so that's basically on the board what you can search. And we have our unknown Adamski. Again, is something that creates the restanding options, and yeah, to create extra attacks. So that's basically what you need to know for the main content, and let's go to the triggers. Trigger lineups is kind of simple as well, which is 8 crits, 4 draws, and 4 heals. If you actually want the deck to get more drawing power, you can run like 6 draws, or you can even run 7 draws, which I think is fine, but I still prefer to have a little bit more crits, mainly because of the defensive power. Because if we use too much 5k guards, we still need to kind of keep the units on the board. So if just 5k guard, unless you're also facing decks that do a little bit punches on you, else you will have a very hard time, and you don't want to use too much of the great ones to be 10k shield to guard with. So 15k shield is probably better, and that's also another thing that you do need to note with this deck is you do want to take damage a little bit more, so that you are reducing the chances your opponent is going to heal, because you do want them to meet heal triggers and not healing. That's really the key, because you are creating so many attacks, and if you like attack them, they heal, you still kind of create the part and attack them and they heal, you really will feel depressed. So you rather take yourself on 3 or 4 damage, and when they are 2 and then you hit them, okay, you got a heal but not healing, so just stay there and just keep pushing, and then they got another heal, maybe it's off, it goes off, it didn't, then at least you feel less depressed. Because yeah, that's like a fate of XL deck. You generate a lot of attacks, but you didn't manage your damage very well, then you are just going to suffer because you can't push enough. And this also comes to other decks that wants to go like one shot all in, like one time gives you 4 or 5 damage, whatever, and suddenly your opponent's healing too much and you can't win there. That's not something you want to see. Yeah, so that's basically the deck content, and let's try to see some right options, and I'll see if I can explain to you a little bit on the combos that you can do with this deck. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this deck. Great one right options usually will be this. I think this is the most ideal right, especially when you're going second, because whenever your Vanguard check hits, you can get to look top 5 and search for a great free, so you do want this to active. And since this is not going to active anyway, this is not going to active anyway, this is not going to active anyway, so the most ideal is to do this. And then when you get to grade 2s, probably most ideal, I would say Typhoon Bird, so you can just search some units, at least place them behind, so you can start building your board. Or if you really don't have too much to do, or you just want a more clean shot hit, you can write your Brutal Jack, since it's only a Vanguard circle that it cannot stand. So on Vanguard circle it can still stand, and the gain 10k power is on both Vanguard and Vanguard circle, so you can still hit harder with Brutal Jack. But Elephant, of course, try not to. Tortoise if you want, doesn't matter, but most ideal I think is still the Typhoon Bird. Then entering grade 3 is something that you still need to be very careful. You need to make your choices. Most ideal, of course, is this 2, but this is also fine, but you do want this to be on your Riga circle, I think, unless you write it on top of your FX Buster, then that's another story. But usually just place this on the Riga circle. And I think the first ride will likely be your FX if you can. If not, just play your Astro Dragon and do your normal plays. I think it's still fine. But let's say if you are going for this, and let me quickly get some mark. Yeah, so you write your FX Buster, and then of course you get your Excel circle, which I likely assuming you don't have much on the field. Then what you do is you use the skill to attack 2 times. But the first one, you do need to try to make your opponents to let it hit. But you will -1 drive, of course. Then what you do next is probably trying to find yourself this if you won't rest any more units. This if you can actually withstand 2. One simple solution is to call yourself a bird with counter loss, look at top 5, search in on grade 2, and call it arrested. In this case, basically you just call this and you soul blast, then you can already stand this and draw yourself a card. So quite easy. And even if you don't got that, you got your say this, you can still get to stand this. So because it's still appearing in the main phase, it's active skill, so quite easy. But of course, most ideal is to get this and withstand both. Yeah, so next you just simply try to fill your board like this, or if you do have a turret, you can do like this, and you can just let this use the skill to simply swing for once to see if it hits. If not, then that. But even if it's rested and you still got your Taurus, you can still like call it and stand it. So it's quite easy to keep withstanding your stuff. In after that, the turn passed, and that's where things get a little bit more complicated. And first, again, sorry if I can't explain it too well because it's not my deck, but I try to base on my experience on what things can be done. So say after this, you write yourself a HASATA Dragon. Then of course you get yourself an Excel to draw yourself a card, and then use the skill first to draw yourself another card and try to call something. Hopefully if you can get this, or well, basically everything, even this or this is fine as well, depending on if you one, are you going to hit, 2, do you want it to hit. Say if you don't want it to hit, of course you can use this and this, because after that you can still withstand it anyway. But most ideal I think is this, and of course you can still use this. Say this one is not counted, so like this swing rested, and because it didn't hit, it stands. Then basically you just get 10k. But if you do like this and swing for 24 and the attack did go through and rested, you can still somehow rest 2 units and withstand it. So and then if you got an elephant somewhere already, then you can pump both 10k as well, but that's afterwards. So say if this hits, and what you do next is you resolve your FX after, and then just swing with that and see if you got some triggers, put on anywhere you want. But if you do know that you probably not going to be able to withstand your Vanguard because you don't have your towers, you don't have your Minion Bird, then probably aim for probably don't aim for the Vanguard to attack, but something else. But ideally you will do this, and then after that of course you can use your Minion Bird again to soul blast and withstand this so that they can attack again. Or if you only have this, you can still withstand your Vanguard. And since your Assault Dragon can still counterblast and restand in a unit, so you actually can do a lot of attacks after that. So even though you lose one drive from here, but if you are putting your opponents on 4 damage and they actually guard it, then you can still get to stand it without losing any drive. But then this will not help you because this is not a beast deity. Even if you call yourself a Taurus, it won't stand it. It will not because it's not a beast deity. That's something that you need to look for. But you can probably use your little unknown, stand it, attack it with it again, and then rest 2 and stand it again. Probably maybe use this skill to attack again. If not hit, of course you stand. If hit, then rest it and find yourself another medium bird. Of course, by then you're probably running out of soul, but if you can hit with your Vanguard somehow, you can search your Great Freeze and put them in, and if that's the case, then you get another soul. But say if you didn't and really need to do that, but you still get to restand the whole thing, and from there you can see if anything you missed, and then now you are entering battle phase, which you have already attacked like 1 time, maybe 1 to 2 times, maybe 1 more time already. So that's going to use a lot of resources from your opponents, and if they don't hit a lot of defensive, they are going to have a hard time. Yeah, but if you do have this, whenever as long as one of the attack hits, this can be 127k by itself. This whenever you attack won't hit and restand your own stuff or use your Blue Jack to restand it, you get to share the power for your Vanguard, so you won't get hurt too much. In like after you all like doing all of these attacks like these, when this attack, you still get to use the Assault Dragon skill and restand 1 and let it to hit again and still going to attack. So that's a lot of attacks, number of attacks that you can do. But you do need to make sure you look at your numbers, look at what you have in your hand, how many units you can restand, what you can actually restand, especially with your towers, and how many units you can get them rested during your main phase, that to make like your Vermilion Bird useful to restand as much as you can, so you get the draw. Yeah, after that it's just depending on what cards you have in your hand and play with your menu, like depending on what resources you have, and you just go from there. Little punch, little punch, little punch, and try to make your Vanguard hits, so that whenever you get triggers you can pump your Vanguard. Even when using FX, losing 1 drive, you still get to have a big power, so your opponents won't be just like 12, take a hit, and restand is still 12. But again, this is something relating to luck. That's something that we cannot control. What we can control is to look at the board carefully, make the calculation carefully, and not telling you to do a slow play, but do make your actions a little bit slower, so that you think clearly, don't rush yourself. Yeah, because this involves a lot of calculations, involve like how you build up a good, nice board to keep attacking, what you need to restand, how many you can restand, and all sort of things. Yeah, so hopefully that's like a good enough guide on what you can do, some right options, and of course the deck profile itself. Let me know any questions, and I see what I can do to help you. As I said, I still like only playing this deck for a few times, but I think I do know enough to pilot the deck and having fun. Of course, again, FX is not as great as we think, but then it can still do a lot of good stuff. And with the new support, mainly the TARS and the Typhoon Bird, we actually get to play the game a lot easier. But at the same time, we need to use our brain a little bit more. So yeah, it's a brain burning deck. And if you have any questions, just let me know. See what I can help. Yeah, so that's it for the deck profile, guys. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.